one question I would like to ask you. So many Pakistani people ask this. So what do you think about Haroon Yahya? So they don't even believe in Pakistan that he has these girls that have a plastic surgery all over them, and they are his what you would say sexual.
It is true. He have, and this is not photo montage. Haroon Yahya is now arrested again, even under the Erdogan's rule. He have psychological problems, and he say he's a Mehdi. He says
he's Mehdi.
He don't want to say I'm the Mehdi, but he say like this. Mehdi have like this hair. Mehdi have one black mark here like I have. Mehdi have, he describing himself every time, and it's like a sect, we can consider with some little bit Scientology and little bit Jim Jones, for example. It's like a cult, and nobody take them serious in Turkey. No Muslims,
So
no Sunni Muslims, no Shia Muslims. Pakistani and other Muslims are very proud. Sometimes
very they take it very seriously, especially when he writes about evolution. All these books where he takes it.
All things is lie. And he didn't write anything. He didn't write anything. And he said even this, other people write for him. And he put the name Haroon Yahya. This guy is really have mental problems. And it is like even from the hospital, they have papers for that. But even it didn't help him to get arrested again. But no Muslims take them serious. It is really strange that in the world, other Muslims are very proud in Pakistan. In Turkey, he is just a charlatan.
They think that all these pictures and videos are fake.
No.
They're all real. They're all real.
No. It is absolutely true. And he have the girls, and he called them my kitties.
My kittens.
Yeah, kittens. Yeah. His kittens. And a lot of things have been said about that they have sex group and like these things, but we have no proof, so I cannot say that. Of course, they are playing music, and dancing. And girls just adoring him and say, so beautiful you are, like Haroon Yahya, and you are so beautiful. And he said that they are beautiful. Nothing is, if you say the translation or something, Pakistani people, it is true. It is no fake. Everything is true. And if they think this is the real Muslim, it's good. It's good.
It's good. If they accept, but they should accept other Muslims who are like him too, because there are so many other Muslims who like to drink and have girls and all of that. But they should accept, like, if they become Muslims like him, then Muslims are not a problem for anyone.
Yes, and because he even the non-Muslims are are not like him. Like with many girls, many parties. A playboy guy. So. For me, it's okay. I hope Pakistan people will love him and will live like him.
Of course. They should live like him. So Jamal, how did you leave Islam? Like, what was the question that brought you to think that Islam is lying, or Islam is just a man-made religion?
Thank you for asking this question. It is a good question because of I have thinking a lot. What was the first reason? What made it something to me about questioning Islam? I remember when I was very young, then I think 6, 7, 8, maybe, I don't know. I believe every human being have common sense. We have common sense. But how much we use this is the problem. I believe every children of Muslim family, I'm sure, ask their parents when parents say Allah is the God, he created everything, and we will die one day, and etc. Then I asked my mother very like innocent question, but who is the father and mother of Allah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And my mother said, shh, don't ask like these questions. Nobody created him. Okay, then I just closed my thinking brain and continue with the Islam. But when I was finished with the high school, in this time I had one magazine, Tawhid magazine. I was one Islamist, and I want hijab everywhere. I want Islamic rules will be implemented in the state and everything. But in this time I was lucky because of Turkey was an secular UNAF country. We have no full freedom, but we were secular. It means that we had our other voices, liberals, who called themselves laicite, secular, or non-believer. So these voices I have discussed with about. I want to help them so they can be Muslim again, But they come with things that I have never heard before. Even Aisha's age, or Muhammad killed people. I said, how dare you? How you can insult my prophet? He's the best prophet. He's the best human being. He never killed someone. Why are you telling like this? You are a liar. A lot of like this thing, and it forced me to read.
Yeah, exactly.
It forced me to read Quran. It forced me to read the history of Muhammad, hadiths. But it took time. It happened like this because progress is always going very slowly.
Yeah, exactly.
It have to be a lot of questions here. Then you do something. But the other thing, most important thing, I think, that I left Islam later because of my mother's life.
Okay.
My mother is illiterate. She haven't been in school. My mother have used hijab in all his life, or her life. And first, my mother, because she telling me her story when I ask her, my mother, in young age, she was a servant of her family, and later she gave him away to my father, marriage, and she didn't know him. And she became a servant, slave of my father.
Yeah, exactly. This is what happens to women in Pakistan too.
Yeah, almost every Muslim woman in the religious communities, and her life about everything's her life about that. She will make food. She will give birth to a child. She will have sex with my father. This is her life. She have no freedom. She cannot go to her parents even without get permission from my father.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I start to think that, unjust, because my father was very violent person. Okay. He hit my mother every month, many times. Even we have to call the police many times, So she had very difficult life. And I start to see the unjust. And I look to neighbors' women, they have the similar life. Much or less, the same life. Inside my family, women have the same life, much or less. Maybe they get hit once in 2 months. My mother gets hit every week, and no freedom. So I start to think that, we have 6 pillars of Iman.
Islam.
Islam pillars is 5, but Iman, the faith. We have six pillars, and one of them is Qadar, the destiny. And Qaza, and happening. So this question, I asked one Imam, and I asked him, I don't understand. Do Allah know everything? That my father will be a very bad man to my mother, and my mother will be very good Muslim because she have prayed 5 times a day. since she was 9 years or 10 years old. You know, she have no like borough to Allah. She have everything. She have, and fasted and everything. So my mother will go to heaven, my father will go to hell. And do Allah know that if this is like this? Yes, he know that. But why then he make it this theater? That he know the results of the exam, you know.
Exactly.
But he let test go. A lot of unjust and brutality happening. Why my mother have to suffer? Can't Allah just stop everything? You know what Imam said to me? Jamal, you have to never ask too much questions about qadar, the destiny in Islam. If you do that, you will fall from Islam.
Okay.
You will be apostate one day. And that's right. You know, this is the dangerous or tiny, how I can say, the weak point of Islam.
Weak point. Exactly. Taqdeer is the weak point of Islam.
If someone really questioned the qadar from hadith, from Quran, everything, you will see that this religion is just a lie.
Exactly. Because if Allah knows taqdeer, then why do he put all these people in so many difficult situations? And he is just watching, and these people are everything wrong is happening to your mother. He's just watching.
Either he is not powerful and he don't know everything, or he's a sadist. You know, he's a crazy person, and like you know, no, everything is right in my life. Like Muslims believe. I asked it even that one another Muslim nearly, and I like 10 years later in August 15, 8 o'clock, I will kill a lot of people in one shopping center, and before that I will do a lot of harmful thing to another people, and I will be killed there after I do that action. Do Allah know this will happen or not? Yes, he know, they say. He know everything. They cannot say he don't know. Then he know. Then he know even I will be an atheist one day. What is the point? What's the point of everything? You know. Then this question is, I think Mutazilis in Iraq, they had the same problem, but they became with that Allah is not all knowing, that he cannot see. But what happened to them? They have been killed.
Killed by Imam Ghazali.
Yes, and without blasphemy laws, with death penalty, Islam cannot be existed today. Existed until today. And this even says by the one of the biggest mullah from El Azhar. What's his name? I forget. Just everybody know him. He's Al Jazeera mullah. He said exactly this one. He said without death penalty against apostasy and blasphemy, Islam couldn't exist until today.
Exactly. It cannot exist. This is
so these things happened, and I was so happy in Turkey that we had voices like Turan Dursun and other Islam critics. And one day come that I stopped praying. I stopped fasting, and I left my city. I started work with bars, like you know, disco bar, like with alcohol, with women and everything. Then I just quit Islam without saying that I'm not Muslim. If somebody asks, I say I was Muslim. I live my life like other hypocrite Muslims. We don't believe, but we living our life like under the Muslim title, you know. So I left Islam in Turkey, actually, long before I come to Norway. And in 2016 in Norway, I come to Norway 2005, and 2016 I started organization Ex-Muslims of Norway, because I want to contribute to the enlightenment in Islam. It is our duty, you know, because here we can, like, you have a lot of difficulties than me, and others have much more difficulties than you, and they cannot. So we all have to contribute for freedom. For that, I don't want to see another woman will have to live my mother's life here. Or there. And I want Turkey will be a country like Norway. Not that Norway will be a country like
Turkey has the potential to become like Norway. And I think you are very close to that goal. So I think it will be.
Yes, I agree with you, because of I believe that Erdogan's the rule of Erdogan in 18 years did much harm to Islam and than positive thing. So people leaving Islam just because of even political reasons. They look to the ruler. They are Muslim, proud Muslims. Everything's inshallah, mashallah, Allahu Akbar. And they do they see the actions what they are doing, and then they say Islam is that. You know,
because all this corruption, all of that things which these mullah were promising that when Islam will come, this will not happen, this will not happen. It is happening even more now.
It is a big lie, to say that when Islam come, it will be justice. You cannot see justice if Islam is rule. You cannot, even between the Muslims, because of women have different rights, men have different rights. And I'm not talking about non-believers and the other; they have no life under Islam.
Exactly. So one other thing that I thought I would ask you, because Pakistan, there is a lot of hate towards Israel. So is there also hate in normal Turkish people for Israel, like Muslims? Or
in Turkey, only religious people hate Israel.
Okay,
I was one of them. I hated Israel without reason, because Israel is like a tool for Muslims. Tool for they are using Israel to get more power or more support from other Muslims. You have to be victim. And how we can be victim? Then we have to use Israel, like Erdogan did. Erdogan did all these years, but in the same time, they have very good relationship with Israel, with buying weapons or selling things. Under the table, they have good relationship. Even the Islamists. But in the public, they have to blame everything to Israel, and they have to use religious speeches against Israel. This is in all over the Muslim world, I believe, but it is only a tool. It's only a tool.
But at least in Pakistan, they don't want to accept Israel, or they do a lot of politics against Israel. Even this coronavirus is now a conspiracy of America and Israel. This is not even they don't even want to talk about China, that this virus came from China. Though I also don't think that China should be held responsible for this. In some way it should be, but China did not create it. But in Pakistan, they are thinking that America created this virus, or HIV virus was created by Israel. So this is what they believe in Pakistan. So I think in matter of education, like Turkey is so much higher than Pakistan, because Pakistan, normal people don't have education. They are not educated. So they don't understand what are the real problems and what are the false problems. So this is where we are much behind Turkey. But I think one day we will reach that point where people are going to leave Islam, and that is going to happen because of social media and people like you and so many other people that we know. So what message would you like to give to people who think that Islam is very true and they have the right to kill someone if they apostate from Islam or they say something against Islam?
I want to say to my message to Muslims especially, that really they have to start to think open mind, okay, and they have to read. If they follow a religion, then they have to know what is all about, They cannot just believe a religion anymore with hearings, only hearing from mother, father.
Yeah,
we are witnessing a lot of harmful tragedies and very much evil things which happens in the name of Islam. And these Muslims, good people who not practicing their religion, who are not taking serious Islam, telling that this is not Islam. What ISIS doing is not Islam. What Saudi Arabia doing is not Islam. What Iran doing is not Islam. But they have to start to think and start to ask the question to themselves: is this real Islam?
Yeah, exactly.
Can it be a real Islam? What is writing in my books? There are a lot of books with the gold front pages, in the Muslim countries. They love to have the on the wall. Start to read and decide yourself, because we have been cheated in 1400 years. My mother, me, my grandfather, everyone. This is a lie. This is a cult. You know.
I'm
and only thing we have to focus the humanity. We have to be humanist. We have to love each other, and we have to stop with the one Arabic cult from 1400 years ago, which commands us things not suitable with the modern values or modern life today. A lot of things can be said, but the most important thing is, really, I advise every Muslim to read their books with open mind. With open mind. So in their language.
One other question. Like, you have seen what happened with your mother, but now you are living in Norway. Norway is one of the most free countries in the world with women rights. They have very strong women rights, and they have very good laws to protect women rights. So what difference do you see that in the life of Norwegian women and the Muslim women who are suffering due to Islam? So, because, I think if Islam has to be defeated, you have to convince the woman. When you convince the woman that they can live freely, it is not going to be difficult for them to live freely, they should not be slaves of men, then they are going to teach their sons and daughters, and the society is going to change. So, like, can you explain what kind of freedom a Norwegian woman enjoys, and how her life is much easier than a Muslim woman? And
I get very sad every time when I look to the Norwegian woman, and then I think my mother's life.
Yeah, exactly.
It is like one side is slave woman, other side is a free human being. Not only woman, free human. Human. These women are their own boss, chef, like we men in the Middle East, or in Pakistan. They are as much as free as men.
Yeah.
And this give them a value. They are not just a woman, just a body. They are like me, like you. They have right to have a free life however they want. And they are good mothers. We think all the time, the Muslim countries, that our mothers is the best mothers. No.
Yeah, exactly.
They are very good. And even the lonely mothers, like without husband.
Single mothers.
Single mothers, working and caring the children, and doing even goes with the children activities, supporting them in their life, So, but I don't believe that we can convince Muslim women before we take the power from the mullahs and imams,
exactly.
Because they are doing that. Like, women have no chance to fight against men.
Yeah, exactly.
Because their father, their brothers, their husbands controlling them. And when you live under the control of men many hundred years, then everything's became like usual. everything's became like normal, you know. A lot of women think this is the normal way to live. Make food to husband before he come, and just only speak with the neighbor woman. And why they don't? Because they cannot think that I want driver license, I want a car, but you have no job, you know, because they don't give you a job because you are a woman. They don't send you to school because you are a woman. So we have to change the mentality of men, and most importantly, remove all the mullahs and imams, religious leaders, from public, from state.
Exactly.
You know, we have to discriminate them. I think these things happened in the West many hundred years ago. They take the power from the preachers, from the priests and the church.
Yeah, exactly.
They isolate them, and when you isolate them, they have no power or authority over another people.
So, Jamal, I have two final questions for you. The first one is like, can a man beat his wife in Norway? What will happen to that man who touches his wife, who beats his wife in Norway?
It's not allowed, and he will lose her as wife, and he will get prison.
He will get prison.
So and he will never be near to her wife later in the future. Right.
Even his children will not be allowed to go to such a violent man. There will be difficulties for him. It's very strict laws to protect women because of you cannot you cannot beat no one.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this country is very peaceful. It is very different. You can fight with talking.
Okay,
you don't use violence.
The second question comes to Islam. Like, if there was no wife beating verse in Quran, will the Muslim men also beat their wives or not?
With this mentality, after many generations, I believe they will still continue, but it will go down, of course. But you know, like these verses, they don't bite their wives. I don't believe every Muslim man biting their wives because of it is written in the Quran.
But one who does, he does not feel guilty. Why? Because
he is justified.
He justified
with this verse, and this verse have been there in 1400 years. You know, it has been like a tradition. You don't think the verse, you don't think the Quran. It is like, because Quran is written for men. You know,
exactly.
There is no places they say, "Oh, you women's." All believers, when he say to the men. Most of the places, you know, it's to men. And then when you say man is protector of woman, men have more rights than woman, and when you can get many women, but woman cannot get many men, and when you say you can bite, you can bite her,
beat her.
You know? And then this sit in the under. Like in our DNA, you know, consciousness. We are not Muslim men is not like walking Quran like with two foot. They are not thinking every time what they do something about Quran, but it is there. So and it's not helping that to say but you can bite like very lightly. This is not helping. This is just lying about what Allah say. You know, we see in hadiths Muhammad hit Aisha's chest very hard, and she get she's telling us. Other side, you see Umar. Everyone. This is patriarchal.
He's beating his wife. Umar was very
patriarchal. Desert culture, you know, what we can expect. So we have to make equality, you know. If we say women have the same right, state have to say that. And they have to support totally. They have to show that, yes, women have the same right as men. Women can go to and meet with her friends, men or women, like you do.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
And punish them, those who not following the rules. Then some mentality can change in the future, or it will be there.
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, Jamal, would you like to say anything that you want to say, like to anyone who is watching?
No, I just want to thank you so much to you, Galip. You are doing very good job, and I know your background a little bit, and in all these difficulties you have very much courage, and I appreciate that you are doing. And I hope we will talk again, because we in Ex-Muslims of Norway also will start with YouTube live sendings soon. And then I hope we can collaborate together. And,
of course.
And maybe every month.
Whenever you want me to collaborate, I am ready to do that. And I will give the link of Jamal's Ex-Muslim of Norway's channel in the description of this video. I'm also going to give a link of Ex-Muslim of Norway's website and Facebook page in the description of this video. So you go, all of the people who are watching, go and check their page and their YouTube channel, and you will definitely get something to learn from Jamal and his the people who are running these pages and these websites, because they are doing a lot of work and they are doing great work. And they are doing something that will help change this world. And this is also my purpose. This is Jamal's purpose. And maybe this is also your purpose who are watching this video. So Jamal, I would like to thank you a lot. I have known you for the last 2 or 3 years. And I know that you are a beautiful human being, and you are doing all that you can do for the betterment of humanity, especially for the betterment of Muslims. When you are an ex-Muslim activist, but people don't understand that the ex-Muslim activists are the people who are really worried about Muslims. They are really trying to educate Muslims about human rights, about the new age, about enlightenment. And they are the people who are going to carry the Muslim community into future. If ex-Muslims fail, then the world is going to fail. This is what I believe. So I wish all the best of luck to you, Jamal, and I hope that your organization will play a great role in spreading the message in Norway and in Turkey and all over the Muslim world. So I thank you, and I think we will end here.
Thank you very much, Galip. Thank you very much for nice words. And I have to just add a little bit that you said is very important. You know, we have our lives, we have other works, everyone in Ex-Muslims of Norway. We just use our little free time to advocate human rights. And our first important goal is the normalize acceptance of apostasy and blasphemy in Islam. And this we are doing because we love Muslims. Our love driving us to be activists, or we can live our life like atheists, living freely in these countries. But we think Muslims, we think our families, so we do that. And thank you so much for nice words.
Okay, so you subscribe to Ex-Muslims of Norway YouTube channel. You also subscribe to my channel, and soon I'm going to arrange something, and I'm going to collaborate with Jamal about different Islamic topics. He has a lot of knowledge about Islam. Today it was just a very simple discussion with him, but we are going to go into more complex discussions about Islam and what Islam really is and how we have to fight against Islamic ignorance. So thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you next time with a different topic and in another video. So thanks a lot. Bye-bye. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to receive all the notifications. You can also support me on Patreon. The link to Patreon is in the description. If you help me on Patreon, it will be much easier for me to continue my work and spread this message to a greater number of people.